please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Hi there, good afternoon. You're watching Business Lunch. I'm Mangla Malu. With me is Sonia Shenoy. Sonia, not looking so good for the markets this afternoon. The only good part about today is the fact that it is a Friday. So as far as the markets are concerned, the Nifty is virtually at the low point of the day and has to be, because if you take a look at the individual stocks, Reliance, that one's at the low point of the day. Along with that, we have ICICI Bank, which is seeing some fresh selling. And we have another stock as well, which is at the low point of the day, which is ITC, which is not doing too well. So the index heavy is not really doing too well.
Oh, absolutely. I think, it's also a global move, right? I mean, it's Friday, as you said, so you don't know which way the US markets may head. The Dow futures are down about 40-odd points. Trade fears have resurfaced once again. So I guess some profit booking is not totally out of whack in our own markets as well. And it's the Bank Nifty that's really dragging its feet, so down about half-odd% or so. Let's see which way things head. For now, the market breadth is split right down the middle, so things could go anyway through the course of the afternoon. But it's the rupee which continues to hit headlines. It has extended its fall to 71 against the dollar for the first time. We spoke to a whole host of experts to understand the reasons for the fall. Take a look at what they said.
When a currency gets overvalued or whatever, or it kind of overshoots what can be perceived as some kind of an average level, then obviously there's scope for undershooting also. So I don't buy this argument that once it reaches the long-term range or whatever the number is, it should stabilize. I mean, ultimately we have to see what happens to the trade deficit, what happens to the current account, and what happens to the sentiment on the currency, as well as what is happening to dollar. So if you put all these together, I think I'm not putting out a level there, but I think the story of rupee depreciation can continue for quite some time, and I think that is the path of least resistance for RBI also. I mean, definitely we have to bring down a current account deficit, and the exchange rate has to play a big role in that. So I don't think there are any two ways about it.
I don't think 71 is a magic figure where it will stop, because the momentum is always on the up, and we are also compared with what is happening in Argentina and other places. So we are not sure that 71 will be something like a top. It might go higher. The momentum is going higher. So we need some clear communication from authorities to calm these frayed knobs, so that will help the market. But at this point of time, if you ask me, it is going to go higher.
I think we should just understand the global context here, that this is not a rupee-specific move at all. There are two parts to this. I think for most of the last 2 months, you had generalized dollar strength around the world. The dollar was appreciating against the euro, and that meant that most currencies came under pressure. Emerging markets with current account deficit countries are having to pay a premium. So in fact, the depreciation in other markets, in Turkey, in Argentina, in Brazil, has been much more, but nobody is really immune. India is not immune. Indonesia is not immune. Even the Chinese CNY has depreciated a little bit. So this is a global move, and when you have these global moves, there is very little that one can do.
All right, that's as far as the rupee is concerned. But remember, in the stock, from the stocks perspective, Yes Bank, that one's the top nifty loser, reacting negatively to the uncertainty around Rana Kapoor's extension as the MD and CEO of the bank. Let's get in more from Lata.
Investors have been kind of left in the limbo, as has the bank and as has the bank's managing director. It looks like it is only a matter of the Reserve Bank not having enough time. They sent it to the board for revalidation. The board rethought and said, no, we still want the same guy. And the Reserve Bank looks like did not have enough time to go through its own review of the review. And therefore, they have asked for more time. Now, the market is dilly-dallying. The price is lower because it's not a clean approval. Let me first, from the Reserve Bank's point of view, the problem could be that if the reason for the to and fro is because the Yes Bank results showed divergences in FY18, that is, their NPA calculation was different from RBI's, then a similar problem had occurred in Axis, and there the CEO was more or less not allowed to continue. And therefore, the perception is that RBI cannot allow similar crimes to be treated dissimilarly. But there could be other reasons in RBI's mind. We are just guessing about what could have triggered RBI's to and fro. We don't have answers to that because RBI's just gives you a yes or a no. In terms of investors, all possibilities are there. After a few days, within a week, I mean, until further notice could mean in a week, in 2 weeks. It could mean in a quarter. Investors could at the end of it get what they want, which could be reappointment of Mr. Kapoor. They could get reappointment of Mr. Kapoor for 1 year with the promise that he will put a succession. He could get a clean 3 years and no caveats at all. So market is none the wiser, which is why he doesn't want to sell off. What if at the end of the waiting period, they get what they want? And you got all those brokerages telling you that this is a negative. But Jeffrey says street likely to be reacting negatively because clearly the reappointment is not clean, but their stock prices target is 445, a good 100 rupees above the current price. CLSA just says that this could be on various considerations. They have not given us too much by way of positive or negative, but Morgan Stanley clearly says this will create stock volatility. Again, their target price is 400. So that explains that everyone expects volatility because the nature of the decision is so uncertain.
It is getting volatile for the markets, no two ways about that. It's now once again moving to the low point. There's no panic or anything, just some mild profit taking, but do keep an eye out on how the second half of the trading session may pan out. The cash market volumes are high at almost 24,000 crores. But on to a big exclusive chat with CNBC's Becky Quick. Warren Buffett says the US economy is doing better than it did in 2009. He added that trade tariffs have impacted some of Berkshire's investments. Take a look.
The economy, really since the fall of 2009, has progressively gotten better. But it started from a very low base. It started from panic. And we've now had very soon, we've had 9 full years of improvement in business. I mean, quarter by quarter. Now, sometimes it looks like 1% or 1.25%, sometimes it's 2.5%. Now it looks even better than that. But business is good. Across the board, business is good. It was good 2 years ago, but it keeps getting better. But the American public household wealth is over $100 trillion. And 250 years ago, this island where nothing was worth, there wasn't anything here. I mean, $24 for Peter Minuet.
But the economy's firing on all cylinders. One issue that people have worried about is what's happening with trade and tariffs. Have you seen any impact on Berkshire's businesses or higher costs associated with any tariffs that have gone into place?
Yeah, there are a few, definitely. And we buy steel, for example. I mean, at MyTech, or we buy at a lot of places. And we are seeing some effects from that, and we're seeing some effects from inflation.
I'm sorry, from inflation.
We've seen more in the way of cost increases in the last year, if you go across all of our businesses, but particularly building materials or we sell paint. I mean, the can it comes in, that is a lot more expensive than it was a year ago.
How much of the inflation is directly tied to the tariffs, and how much is just from an improving economy and inflation you would expect to creep in?
Yeah, I can't tell you exactly yet, and some of them are kicking. Well, newsprint, it pops up in different places. And I haven't really done that, but I was seeing it in raw materials well before the tariff situation came up. But the tariff situation will aggravate it significantly.
All right, so that was the Oracle of Omaha, but the stock on our focus right now is, on our radar right now is Jet Airways. We learned from our sources that investors have expressed interest to invest in jet privilege and part equity in Jet Airways itself. Kritika Saxena, who broke the story, joins in with those exclusive details. Kritika?
We were the first to report that Jet Airways is looking at the option of raising capital by diluting 15% via a fresh issue. The percentage, etc., is still being worked out. And we were also the first to tell you that they are looking at selling their 49% stake in Jet Privilege, which was later confirmed by the company. Jet Privilege is the loyalty program that Jet Airways has along with Etihad, which has about 51% stake. Now, an interesting development has taken place over the last couple of weeks. Bankers have been running both these mandates separately. equity. And we understand that some investors have expressed interest in acquiring stake in both Jet Privilege as well as Jet Airways. So, for instance, we understand that a consortium of PE investors led by Blackstone has expressed interest in both. We learned that Air France, KLM and Delta, we had reported this earlier as well, has expressed interest in both Jet Airways and Jet Privilege as well. Now, 3 private equity investors, namely TPG Capital, GIC and Indigo Partners, has expressed interest in acquiring stake only in Jet Privilege. So, this is still at expression of interest stage, but what this has done is Jet is now mulling if it makes better sense and maximizes value to actually run both the mandates together, wherein if an investor is invested in both, they ensure that they sell their entire stake in Jet Privilege, get that value, and then perhaps look at an equity dilution in Jet Airways itself. The reason why investors are asking for both is that investors believe that they will get better exposure and would maximize their investment into the company. We did reach out to Jet Airways for a comment. They say that following the decision of the board of directors, the airline's management has commenced the execution of its turnaround strategy. The process includes a careful evaluation of all opportunities in order to ensure the long-term growth and sustainability of the organization, a process that has the complete support of Jet Airways' strategic partner, Etihad Airways. The airline will make the necessary announcements in this regard in due course, post receipt of all necessary approvals, and is unable to comment on specific queries at this time.
Okay, Kritika, thanks a lot for that. So that's Jet Airways. Well, they might be looking to dilute 15% and raise money, but the street is not convinced. Remember, the Registrar of Companies will be doing a check to, see if there's siphoning of funds. So there will be a probe into Jet Airways, and that's what's kept the stock under pressure this afternoon. Well, moving on, after the Allahabad High Court refused interim relief to stressed power companies, a high-level empowered committee on stressed power projects will be meeting today. Anshu Sharma is here to tell us what's on the agenda. Anshu, over to you.
That's right. The high-level empowered committee on stress assets in the power sector will be meeting today. The committee is headed by P.K. Sinha, who's the cabinet secretary, and there will be representation from Ministry of Power, Finance, Coal, Railway, as well as the lenders who have maximum exposure in these 34 stress assets specifically. Also note that there will be representation from the Reserve Bank of India as per the Allahabad High Court order, which was given just this week. Remember, about 34 power assets are under stress, and of these, some 9 assets are at various stages of insolvency and bankruptcy code, and about 7 assets out of 34 have been resolved with regards to coal supply issues. The committee will basically look into issues which is making these assets stressed, and that will include fuel linkage policy, any regulatory issues that these assets are facing. Apart from that, it will ensure that there should be some mechanism to bring in timely payment from DISCOMs, because some of these assets are facing issues of delayed payment from DISCOMs. So any issue which is actually stalling these projects will be discussed, and we'll have to wait and watch out for that today evening. We'll get you more post the meeting. Back to you.
All right, thanks a lot for that, Anshu. Let's move on then. Auto sales for August will be out tomorrow. Remember, this is the last day of August itself. Sonia, what are they expecting this time? There were a lot of hiccups in August, if you must.
Yes, there were. And, this time the growth is expected to slow down. So if you look at the key reasons, of course, one is the Kerala floods. The floods have impacted production for companies like Royal Enfield, for Maruti, not just production, sales as well. And that really will be felt in this month. Not just that, the festive season was delayed. That will impact growth for a couple of these rural-based companies like Hero MotoCorp. Talking about two-wheelers, the West Bengal market will be disrupted because licenses have now been made compulsory for two-wheelers before you buy it. So, of course, that is very good for safety purposes, but, it will impact sales in the very near term. Apart from that, medium and heavy commercial vehicles sales will also slow down. That's because regional RTOs have now started giving permits for a higher load capacity for older trucks, and because of that, new truck sales will be deferred. So, all of this put together will impact sales in this month. Nomura is expecting Maruti to see about a 1.5% growth. Ashok Leyland sales will slow down to about 15% odd. Bajaj Auto's numbers will still look good because export trajectory has been very strong. Hero MotoCorp, as I said, the delayed festive season will result in a flattish growth for Hero MotoCorp this month. And for M&M, the auto volumes will slow down to about 12%. So some minor hiccups for the auto sector this time.
All right, minor hiccups for the auto sector this time. Come Monday, and by then we will have most of the numbers. Individual stocks, well, the Nifty is under a bit of pressure. A couple of stocks, they're trying to bat for the bulls. We have all the pharmaceutical stocks there at the high point of the day. Lupin at the high point of the day, along with that, Dr. Reddy's. So export sector is really doing well as we speak. The pharmaceutical index up 3%. We have Tech Mahindra, HCL Tech doing very well as well. At the same time, we have L&T. That one's trying its best to bat for the bulls as well, up around 2% as we speak. However, remember, when Reliance and HDFC Limited are at the low point of the day, of course, there would be some pressure. But let's move on. You may soon have to shell out a little more for your laundry. Well, owing to surging raw material costs and the weak rupee, India's leading detergent makers, HUL, Jyoti Laboratories and Procter & Gamble are all set to hike the prices in the range of anywhere between 3 to 5%. Priya Sheth has this exclusive. Priya, give us the details. How expensive will the laundry get?
Well, it will get pretty expensive, of course, with surging raw material costs as well as a weak rupee. We understand that detergent makers are looking at hiking prices anywhere in the range of about 3 to 5%. In fact, what we understand from our sources is that HUL, Procter & Gamble as well as Jyoti Labs have decided to take price hikes in the range of 3 to 5% across all SKUs. Now, let me take you through specifics. As far as Jyoti Labs is concerned, we understand that the company is looking at selective price hikes across their detergents portfolio. They're looking at anywhere between a weighted average price hike of about 5% for the detergent segment, and this could include price hikes for all their products, including Mr. White, Henko, Ujala as well as Check. And the products with the new price tags will be rolled out starting October is what we do understand. Meanwhile, HUL is looking at a price hike of about 2 to 6%. Now, this includes products like Rin, Active Wheel as well as Surf Excel. Several of the products have already started trickling in at the wholesale level, but of course, P&G's Tide, which is also popularly consumed across the country, is likely to see an increase in prices in the range of about 3 to 5%. And of course, Ghari detergent, which is of course the second largest detergent maker, RSPL, has still not decided on the price hike. So that's a space that we will continue to track. But we did reach out to all the companies. HUL said that they have no comments to offer on our story. P&G said that as per policy, they cannot comment as far as pricing is concerned. And Jyoti Labs has confirmed the fact that they will be going ahead and taking select price hikes.
Okay, talk about washing dirty laundry in public. That's going to get costlier now, isn't it? Well, thanks a lot for that, Priya. But moving on, RBI's annual report, which said that 99.3% of the notes banned during demonetization had been returned, has now put a question mark on the purpose of demonetization itself, something that is being questioned for very long. Now, CNBC TV18 has learned from sources that Trinamool MP Dinesh Trivedi has written to Veerappa Moily, who is the chairman of the Parliamentary Committee on Finance, urging him to adopt the report as the committee's tenure expires today. Parikshit Luthra joins in to give us more on that. Parikshit, over to you.
Well, this is a rather strong letter, strongly worded letter to Veerappa Moily. And Veerappa Moily has been under criticism from Dinesh Trivedi and other members of this Parliamentary Committee on Finance for giving in to BJP pressure. Remember, many opposition MPs have been alleging that BJP members of the Parliamentary Committee on Finance are not letting the demonetization report to be adopted because this report was critical of the government. It had questioned the intention behind demonetization and what was the stated purpose behind it. Many members, including Dinesh Trivedi, are saying that this report should be adopted, and if the BJP members want to dissent, then their dissent note should be added with this report. And now he's urging Veerappa Moily to make sure that this report is adopted because taxpayers' money, resources have been spent on preparing this report, on deliberations over the last 2 years, and the nation needs to know, people of the country need to know what happened over the last 2 years and what was the point of all these deliberations. So he's urging him to go ahead, adopt the report, and if somebody wants to disagree with it, you can put that disagreement as a note with that report itself. But it seems that this report will now go to a new committee because the committee's tenure ends today. So while the report itself may not die, there will be a new committee and possibly a new chairman as well.
All right, thanks a lot for that, Parikshit. In fact, hang in there with us. The BIMSTEC summit is also underway currently in Nepal. What are the key declarations signed by all member nations so far?
Well, it has been a comprehensive summit. So they spoke about economy, they spoke about grid connectivity, they spoke about better power supply, blue economy and the free trade agreement. We believe that there's still no conclusion of the free trade agreement, which has been under negotiation since 2004. But what the members this time have done, that they have reaffirmed their commitment to conclude this on an early date. There was a very strong paragraph on terrorism as well. Then there is a confirmation that the members would soon be signing an agreement on mutual legal assistance when it comes to crimes. So there could be an extradition treaty between BIMSTEC partners. Then there is an agreement on power supply, on improving power supply between all BIMSTEC partners, and there is an agreement on blue economy. An intergovernmental panel would be set up to study ways where all the BIMSTEC partners could come together, trade better, and also form better linkages as far as the blue economy is concerned. Back to you.
Okay, Pariksha, thanks a lot for that. But guys, we have to talk about the action from the Asian Games, right? India's medal tally currently stands at 60 with 13 gold, 21 silver and 26 bronze. This after Jinson Johnson